Okay, so in this tutorial I'm just going to go through all of the options in the browser section, or at least the most important ones. So we got load URL, so I could just use my own website here, davesblueprints.com, and click OK. It'll just load up the website. It does have some other options here like the referrer, so if you want to make it appear like you're finding a website through another website, you can change the referrer here, so you can make the referrer appear like it's coming from Google, like a Google search for instance. That might be useful for some people. The current URL, that'll basically just tell you whatever URL the bot is currently looking at, so I'll click OK here. And if I want to see what URL is in the log, I'll just go to Tools, Log, Data to Log, Current URL, and click OK. And it'll appear here in the bot log of what the website you're looking at currently is. The next thing, there's page HTML. This deserves its own tutorial, so I'm not going to go into this. It's basically just scrapes the HTML of the page that you're looking at. It can be quite useful if there's maybe something that doesn't appear on the page, or only appears in the code that you need to scrape or look at. But I'll make a whole tutorial about that. Proxy. So if you want to set a proxy so that you appear in a different location, so obviously I'm in the UK at the moment, but if I want to make an account for a website in the US, I can just set a US proxy. So if I click on proxy, you just paste in the proxy string. It recognizes most different formats, or you can put the proxy in here and then the proxy login and password in these here. It's got some other options as well, so you can change the time zone so it matches up with the proxy's time zone. So if you're in the United States, you want to and you want the time zone to appear where that proxy location is. Change the geolocation, all that sort of stuff. It's all in here. So what I'm going to do is I've pasted in a proxy previously, so I'm just going to apply it now. Just take a few seconds for that to apply. Then I'm going to load up the What's My IP website to show you where it is. So you can see here it's showing us the country United States, and completely different IP from mine. So that's it. It's pretty straightforward. The next thing, there's JavaScript. So if you know how to code in JavaScript, you can execute your own custom code. It can be quite useful. It's very rare that I need anything like this, because most of the scripts that I make on here can be done with just this bot without needing any JavaScript or other script, but it has come in handy for some things occasionally. Let's have a look down here. There's scroll, so if you need to scroll up and down the page, it could be useful for different things. Typically, if there's an element you need to go to, so for instance, I don't know, let's say you want to click on something down the page, if you just highlight it and then move on element, it'll scroll down the page to where that element is anyway. So might not be, it depends on what your usage is, but I don't know if I've ever really used scroll for much. Now there's Recaptcha as well. So some websites, or a lot of websites nowadays, I'll just load one up here to show you an example. I'll scroll down the page. You can see they've got the Google Recaptcha. Now, to solve these, you'll need a Recaptcha solve service. They're usually extremely cheap per captcha. So if you're signing up to accounts, for instance, and you might need to, instead of you sat there manually clicking on images to fill out all these captures, you can just basically hire a service like Recaptcha, which is the one I use. So to set that up in the bot, all you have to do is basically click on the box or highlight anywhere on the Recaptcha really. I think the box is usually the best. And then just go to, I'll just type in cap. And it comes up with the option here, solve Recaptcha 2.0. You need to make sure that this is already set. So if you go to module manager, I'll search for captcha. You need to make sure that Recaptcha is ticked so that this module is activated before you start the script. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on solve Recaptcha 2.0. Now I need to change this from manual so that I'm not solving it to one of the captcha services. It has a lot of them. It has a lot of different captcha services on here. A lot of different ones are supported. I personally use Recaptcha, so I'll click on here, the Recaptcha new API, and then I'll just paste the API code in here and then click OK, and it will solve the captcha on the page for me. It also has some advanced settings as well, so how many times to try and solve one captcha. By default I think it has it as 10, but you might want to decrease or increase the amount of times it will try to solve a captcha. Sometimes it can fail because it is a human trying to solve it at the end of the day, so they might click on the wrong images, so they might need to try it a few different times. And that's most of the most important ones from the browser section. So yeah, that's how to get started with setting up proxies and solving recaptchas using Browser Automation Studio. No coding is necessary for any of this, so yeah, it's all good, and I'll see you in the next lesson.